What if some of the most underrated protein on this planet doesn't moo, doesn't cluck, and doesn't come in a tub with whey isolate? And yet, gram for gram, can stand next to beef and eggs. Not soy burgers, not pea protein, real food. Things you can put in a pot, on a plate, and actually chew. Let's start in a place where steak is a fantasy, and survival depends on whether your crops can handle heat and almost no rain. In the Sonoran Desert of the US and northern Mexico, summers regularly push past the point where normal beans and corn just give up. Yet for thousands of years, people here kept harvesting protein from a plant that looks almost too small to matter: tepary beans. To most modern shoppers, they're invisible. But to indigenous farmers, they were the difference between eating and not eating. These beans handle brutal heat and poor, rocky soil where normal crops fail. Dry tepary comes in around 22 to 25 grams of protein per 100 grams. For comparison, lean beef sits roughly in the 20 to 23 grams of protein per 100 grams of raw meat, and one medium egg weighing about 60 grams gives you roughly 6 to 7 grams of protein. So this desert bean most people have never even heard of is playing right next to beef and comfortably ahead of an egg on pure protein while growing where cattle simply can't. And it's not just protein bricks. Tepary beans also bring complex carbs, fiber, and minerals. So when you put a pot of them on the table, you're not just replacing meat. You're building most of a full meal in one bowl. But desert beans are just one way people solve the protein problem without animals. Jump to Central America, a few thousand years back. No supermarkets, no high-yield hybrid corn, no protein shakes. And yet, an empire is running, fighting wars, raising families. One of the quiet engines behind that was a grain with red and gold seed heads swaying above the fields: amaranth. For the Aztecs, it wasn't a trendy, ancient grain. It was everyday fuel. Dry amaranth grain sits at about 13 to 14 grams of protein per 100 grams. That's higher than most conventional grains, and it comes with a better amino acid profile, including lysine, which many staple grains are short on. On top of that, amaranth brings iron, magnesium, and other minerals. So when you swap one bowl of white rice for amaranth, you're not just chasing a few extra grams of protein, you're upgrading the entire nutrient stack of that meal. But there is a plant that stops playing the a bit better than grain game and starts pushing its way right up next to meat. In the tropical heat of Southeast Asia, a vine climbs along fences like any other bean. This is the winged bean. Young pods fry up like green beans. Leaves cook down like spinach. Roots cook like a slightly sweet, nutty potato. But the real punch is in the dry seed. Dry winged bean can hit around 30 to 35 grams of protein per 100 grams, and some varieties get close to 40% protein in the dry seed. That's the same ballpark as soy and solidly into meat level numbers in the protein table. And it doesn't show up as some isolated powder. Winged bean seeds also carry healthy fats and a good mix of minerals, so that handful of beans behaves much more like a complete food than just another macro number. Add the leaves and tubers, and you're looking at a single plant that can cover protein, greens, and carbs in one go. That's land. Now let's step onto water. Picture a small farm pond or an overgrown ditch. On the surface, a bright green carpet most people would describe with one word: gross. In Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, part of that gross layer has a name, a price, and recipes. It's duckweed, and the tiniest species in the genus Wolffia are sold as water eggs. Depending on species and conditions, the dry matter of duckweed carries roughly 20 to 40% protein. Most well-managed ponds cruise in the 20 to 35 grams of protein per 100 grams of dry biomass. Those are numbers you expect on a protein powder label or soy flour, not on something you usually skim off the surface with a bucket. Duckweed isn't just a protein stunt either. It comes with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which is why researchers keep pointing to it as a potential green multivitamin for closed systems. In a poor, remote place, that matters. One plant on the water can quietly cover a lot more than just your protein quota. And it grows fast. Duckweed can double its mass in a matter of days. If you start asking, how many grams of protein can I grow per square meter per week? This green film suddenly looks like one of the most efficient protein machines on the planet. That's why scientists and space agencies are testing it as a protein source in closed-loop life support systems. places where you'll never have the space or resources for cattle or soybean fields, but you still need real nutrition. And here's the heart of the story. Protein is protein. Your muscles don't care whether it came from a cow, an egg, a bean, a grain, or a pond plant. They just care that it shows up, together with everything else your body needs to run. What makes these plants interesting isn't that they beat meat in some internet argument. It's that they give you serious protein plus fiber, complex carbs, iron, magnesium, healthy fats, and vitamins, often in places where animals are hard or expensive to keep. Tepary does that on land most people would write off as dead. Amaranth does it where high-input grains never existed. Winged bean does it on a fence that already stands. Duckweed does it on the surface of water nobody ever counted as farmland. Raising beef or chicken still works, but it's slow and expensive. Feed, water, work, then refrigeration, and every animal is a fresh cycle from zero. A lot of these plants, once they're in, just keep coming back. From saved seed, from roots, from a pond that refills itself. So instead of asking, is meat bad? The more useful question is, what could you grow where you are that would quietly take a chunk of that protein pressure off your plate? Because if a fence, a rough patch of soil, or a small pool of water can start feeding you like that, it might be worth giving at least one of these forgotten plants a spot on your land